All right, we are now live. Just going to get this pinned. Perfect.
Nice.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 6, Zero to Hero. I am joined tonight by a new guest, a new co-host for the stream Prospect. Welcome. How you
Well,
doing, man?
pretty good. Excited to be here.
Super happy to have you here, fellow MVG teammate, repping the Sixers gear tonight in honor of the NBA draft.
Yeah, I'm all set up. I was gonna I've got a hat with a corgi on it that I think I showed you one time. And I
Yeah.
told myself when I got it, I was like, I'm gonna wear that on MJ's stream next, but didn't have the chance yet.
I totally get it. Well, we will have to hope that Brett Smith comes by because that is awesome. Um, all right, so let's hop in. Let's get started right away.
Sure.
With Zook out tonight, we're only going to focus on my horse, so it'll be pretty quick. The past week, I didn't get in as many races as I would have liked. I'm racing the horse, 22, 2400. Mostly in that time frame. I ended up going up in class from class 4 to class 3. As we can see, just kind of down here, looking at the lack of fire as well as the kind of average class. I mean, I'm barely crossing over into class 3. So class 3 is not a fun place for me to be. I can usually get out fairly quick. But when you look at my horse's kind of just triangle chart here, it's all of the race speeds are very close to their average. So, my biggest fear is slowly starting to come true that this horse doesn't really want to move. Just looking at kind of the finished distributions up top on where I could maybe look into down classing, maybe I try 14. I've got 11 races there, 55% of the time. So I might shift from, 22, 24, 22 was 47%, 24, 33. That kind of evened out a little bit. But yeah, I'm probably going to shift this next week to look more at like 14 and maybe just try and run that exclusively.
It's hard. The down class game has even changed. I mean, with all the open dailies and stuff, or I guess the open races, but the what do we want to call them? The conditionals.
Sure.
When there's a
Yeah.
conditional going on, everybody is just downclassing. That's all they're doing. So your horse has to be the worst of the worst to downclass well, really.
That's very true, and it's become like its own separate. Downclassing was always a thing. It was
Yeah.
race, try to win, and then downclass. There's this up and down, and then tournaments came in,
Right.
and like the meta, in my opinion, has changed slightly, so that now it's exactly to the point you were saying of
Yeah.
they have the conditionals, and there's and just tournaments, and just like there's so much going on that odds are there are people. It's not two groups anymore. There are multiple groups competing at one time. And when you have a very clear objective
Yeah.
to try and lose, there are so many other people trying to do that. And it has become very difficult
Sure.
to execute on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's its own strategy in itself. As you're saying, it's if you don't have a horse that can downclass and you're gonna get stuck, it's awful. It's not fun.
Yeah, it is definitely rough. So yeah, this week gonna focus on 14, just see what happens. Um and continue to ride that struggle bus.
Yeah.
You recently bought a horse.
I did. I got a Z7 Finney Legendary mare.
What is the name of this mare?
All one word. Its name is Jerry Can Jerry.
Nice.
Um,
And so I've got Jerry Can Jerry pulled up here.
yes.
So from a kind of analysis standpoint,
Sure.
I'm seeing, unlike my horse, where you can see the white and red, there's a lot of overlap. Jerry Can Jerry has significant down class in sprint and significant performance
Yeah.
in marathon, and that's very clear. I feel like this is your just prototypical opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
One side does one thing, the other side does another thing. Um, Horse.
Yeah.
And hey, Coliseum.
What's up?
And I that's kind of exciting. I'm also seeing some flames across, a bunch of different classes. Definitely the strongest across the most races in class 5. When I look at like the classes you're racing in, I'm seeing some 3s on average, but a
Mhm.
handful of 4s and just past 4s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you went to get your horse, what was appealing to you?
Sure. Yeah. So, it's funny. Like, I think what I was looking for and stuff also has to do with my last 2 months. I sold my best racers, arguably my best racers.
Mhm.
I did, for various reasons. And so I was at the Zed NFT NYC event the other night.
Yeah, how was that? What was
And
that like?
it was fun. It was cool. I didn't go to the one last night. Ben Simmons was there. It was my one chance to tell him how I really feel as a Sixers fan, but I didn't. No, I had other stuff going on last night, but the event on Wednesday was fun. It was like a lot of amazing people from the community who I have talked to, every week for the past year, and I never knew any of their real names. I never knew what most of them looked like unless they were streamers or on stream at some point.
Yeah,
It was just like a
that's pretty
lot of,
cool.
yeah, it was just a lot of people who, you recognize their stable name, and we're all watching races. They had on the TV in the bar. It was an open bar, which was obviously always
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
I had two horses in two different races. My marathon specialist Genesis got put into an 1800 race,
Oh,
and then I had a 1200, a sprinter who is like 70% show and I think 25% win
yeah.
at sprints.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely shit the bed, and I think he came in 11th. At
Oh
a
no.
100, which was for like $600. But anyways, yeah, it was cool, and they had like a rep from Microsoft Edge or whatever was there, and had like a augmented reality helmet that you could put on and see Zed
Oh, sweet.
horses running through the bar. And
That's
then
pretty cool.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was just like a lot of fun, and there were also people I met. This one dude who bought his first horse like the night before, and was asking for advice. It was just like, it was fun. And then obviously at the end of the night they showed the footage, which I'm sure you've seen by now, of the new, or not new, but the potential, I'll call it a facelift,
Yeah,
with
right.
the new racing graphics, which is also a new look for the horses, and just a complete like race generation overhaul for the graphics. And I saw that and I was like, I guess I got to go home and buy some more horses, because like it was exciting. It looked like it was fun. I had a fun time, and like I missed having fun in Zed.
That's
So
fantastic. That's
yeah,
really cool.
so the event was great. But on that note, yeah, it made me want to get a new horse. I had a very decent amount of Ethereum saved up or in my wallet, so I decided that I was going to spend about 0.25. Um, Within that budget, I told myself I needed a horse that obviously can race, is a good racer. And then breaking that down further, I wanted a horse that could do paid.
Hmm.
The tournaments are fun, but Jesus, are some of them tough to get into now. I mean, I remember when I was qualifying for, every tournament in a week. Yeah, that's the video. I see that on stream. It just like it's so cool. I mean, I know a lot of people were upset that the horses lost that like poly geometric shape,
Yeah.
but that's stupid. Like, I get it. It's the Zed look to have that, but I don't know. You can't look at the skins, and then they released another video last night, and like this, I mean, you can't look at it and not be like, that's so freaking cool.
I like the angles a lot.
Yeah,
The horses, it could just be from the video, but they almost look like they're like a liquid metal, like
yeah.
shiny metal kind of feel
I
to it.
think they might have overdone the skins a little bit on this video, but like
Sure.
the glitch, the like airstream coming off of the winners, the
Yeah,
the user interface on the bottom of the screen showing the progress.
that's pretty cool.
It's just it's so elevated from what's going on currently in the game. It made me hype. Anyways, so I knew I wanted a paid racer, a racer with some paid data, because it just like that's kind of what I want to be doing right now. I have a few that can keep up in paid, but I wanted a really good one. And so with the paid data, I was getting sent old, horses with paid data from January, from February, and that's just ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna buy a horse right now to enter in paid races, you have to look at the current data from the last 2 months, maybe. So I was sent a lot of horses from people who, a lot of people sent me some incredible horses, and a lot of them with the recent paid data were very expensive. So Hangry, who's part of Intense Stables,
Hmm.
sent me Jerry Canjeri, and Hangry's a good dude. I've talked to him multiple times, and I breaking the horse down. I think it had like a little over 0.1 in profit in this month, in June alone, which is like 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, it's got great distance preference, as you can see. It's got that down button. There were some downsides that I saw that I almost didn't buy it for. It's only got 250 race entry data, but that's fine with me. Like, I'm okay to just grind the 250s. And as you can see here, it's mostly its most success is in like class 4 or 5, class 5, but it's got that easy down button, so I figure I could get it into class 6, run it up, class down, and repeat, and do some tournaments along the way. I was a few hours late buying it because it was offered to me as it was already qualified for the I think it was the legendary only yesterday, 2 days ago.
Okay. The conditional. Yeah.
Yeah, the conditional, and it ended up taking first place in the A bracket, I think, in round 1. So
Wow.
that's like 0.04 right there.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. Anyways, I looked and looked, and there were not a lot of horses on market under like 0.5 or 0.75 ish, with very good recent paid data that also do well in the tournament style. So I took the plunge. I got it at a decent price that, with my rough math that I did, if I stayed disciplined and run it correctly, I should be able to make that back in like maybe 2.5, 3 months.
That's awesome. That's in the grand scheme of things, that's not a very long time frame.
It's not.
And for those of you that are looking to buy a horse, I think two big things really stand out to me. One, you mentioned the recency of performance.
Yeah.
So this money that it earned in the past month.
Yeah.
You're looking at, maybe 2 months of race data. And I think that's essential to any horse buying at all. And
Yeah.
then two, you're able to just clearly see up and down class. And a third is that you're okay with grinding out the 250s.
Yeah.
And 250 that's nothing to scoff at. Just
No.
with the way competition is right now, frees are even hard.
Mm.
So I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
I know we talked, and we found horses for cheaper, but the performance wasn't there in terms of recency, and I think you made a smarter play going the route with Jerry Canjeri.
Thank you. Yeah, I look. Look, if you want to buy a horse right now, and there's horses out there that have, like 20% win in paid and stuff like that, but it might not be recent, and that burns me in the past. I bought a marathoner months ago that had, like, I think it was like 0.14 in like 60 races or something, the previous 60 races. And then I bought it and it had like negative 0.02 in the next like 40 races. And I was just,
Oh,
yeah. And now it's got top speeds too. It's just something happened, whether it's the state of the game and the competition, or whatever else. It's not going to produce like that ever again. So yeah, if you're looking to buy a horse and you paid, if specifically paid data, it's got to be recent, or it's not gonna equate to anything.
yeah, yeah. So you've got clear performance metrics, you've got recency, you've got a budget that you set that it was within. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
PBNFT says I always uh check how recent the race stats are too when looking for a stud. Bit different, but feel it still relates. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
agree with that too. Because a top performer of 6 months ago isn't necessarily going to be a top performer of today.
absolutely, especially with studs. And the breeding update, and looking at some of the monsters that have come out of the breeding update. And that was also another reason I got Jerry and Jerry. I'm not gonna lie, I don't use Zedge, I don't use Blood Tool,
Hmm.
but I asked a buddy about the horse, and one of the first things they said was, "Holy shit! Look at Zedge scores." And then I started looking at. I don't breed like ever. I've bred like 2 horses maybe, and they were all for maidens.
Yeah,
But Jerry Jerry has some really high like breeding scores and some really decent recent offspring too.
nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So you've got kind of a little stable builder for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
Um, so speaking of updates, you mentioned the breeding update. Zed has tossed some other updates out
Mhm.
recently. One being, and I'll pull it up here. The filters have been around for a minute, but the auto gate enter right here, the quick enter. What are your
Yes.
thoughts on that? Have you used it much? Has it been pretty quick and seamless for you?
Sure. Yeah, I use it. I use it unless I see that like 0 out of 12, 1 out of 12. Because I am one of those people who is superstitious, as you can tell, wearing a jersey and hat on like draft night for the NBA.
I love it.
I will always get into gate 11 if I can. It has
Okay.
anybody new to Zed who is watching this now, or a recorded version, until Zed says it matters, it doesn't matter for anything. I like it. It's a
Yes.
good feature. I don't know why they introduced that feature and didn't get rid of the gates in general. Not the gates, but the option to choose a gate. Um, it seems kind of silly to me to have the auto gate selector and then also the ability to choose a gate. Um, but whatever. It is what it is. It's a great feature, makes things easier, and it saves a little bit of time and headache.
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
Yeah.
It's from like a UI standpoint, it's super simple. It's
Yeah.
easy to like, I don't know, it's not super intrusive into the design, which is nice.
Yeah.
Along with this, they are scaling the availability of races across all classes and the ability to run multiple paid and one free. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think I had a thought about the auto gate.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, real quick. I think that the AutoGate needs to be a setting where you can click it in your settings and then it doesn't show up. It's just like if you go to enter a race, it's just one button that says like enter race and that's it.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
Anyways, what did you ask me? You asked me.
So we talked about now the scaling of races. So now we
Oh
have more races across all classes, and
yeah.
then the ability to enter in 3 paid, 1 free.
Yeah, and again, that was another reason that I wanted to buy a new racer that could keep up in paid, because I don't have to sit and just do one at a time, one at a time. And I was looking, and like there's a lot of races again to enter, and I think hopefully it helps. Hopefully, people start doing paid more. I think there's other things that can be improved and whatever, but I don't think anybody can say that there are not enough races or that it didn't improve. Especially with the filters that came out like what, a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And
And you
just
can save those now.
yeah, the whole UI of the site I think has been very severely improved.
I agree. I think that's where they're making their biggest strides. And just in general, like I'm super happy to see the fact that they are now communicating so much more, and the style with which they're communicating has vastly improved. They're saying, "Hey, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, and here's what we think will happen from it."
Mm.
And it's there was so we were so often in the dark in the past that it's like, okay, we're going to do this. Well, okay, well, why? What are you testing? What are you looking for? How long is this going to last? How long are we going to have to deal with this? And there's just, I feel there's a lot more transparency now, and I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And, obviously some team members were, we could say, moved around, whether that's
Hmm.
moved from internal to external of the team or something else. But I was talking to a team member at the event the other night who basically said exactly what you just said to me. That was like, everything is more transparent now. We are being more transparent. Moves were made and it's going in a good direction. And I was like, all right, like that's enough to hear from that's more than I've heard from a team member about a lot of things. So
100% yes.
I'll take it for what it
Uh,
is.
yeah. Very, very happy just with the way they're communicating and delivering on that. We have 2 picks in taking a little NBA draft break here. I don't know if you saw, but the Magic got Banchero, and then the Thunder picked Chet Holmgren, who
Yeah,
I hate so much.
yeah, because
I hope he fails.
he's so goofy looking.
I
Um,
just, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a great person, Chet. You're never gonna watch this,
he's like the
but you're gonna fail so hard.
skinniest 7-footer. I didn't see that. I was gonna pull up my like YouTube TV stream on the side, but I didn't. I didn't want it to make noise. But I'm gonna do that now.
Do
Um,
it. And I don't like Chet because of the Giannis
but he could
talk
drive
and
it
Giannis
either way.
comparison.
Sorry, I did get
Are
the
you-
volume. I couldn't hear you.
You're fine. I don't like Chet because I've heard a few analysts make a Giannis comparison, and from like when Giannis was drafted, not now, obviously. And
Yeah,
I don't see it at all.
when he was a skinny boy.
Yeah, yeah, like
Um,
that's the only, like, they were both skinny at one point in time.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched enough of him. I was really out of college basketball this year and last year. I used to be like a diehard Villanova fan, and
Okay.
then I just kind of started focusing more and all of my energy on the Sixers for obvious reasons over the past few years. But
Yeah.
I thought he was supposed to go like six or five or six, maybe not. Was he supposed to go one or
I think he
two?
was there at one point, but then the past few days it kind of
Yeah.
changed, and he got bumped up.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I guess, yeah, he was set for one or two. Yeah, he's a goofy looking guy.
Absolutely. Back to Zed. Any other thoughts, comments on recent updates? Just kind of, I mean, you got a new horse. It sounds like you're coming back in a little bit. You went to the
Yeah.
event, NFT NYC. You said that was awesome. Shared the link for the the new updated video, which I think was pretty
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts before we head out for the night?
I think the general issue of the classes and the ratings, I think the ratings or the ELO maybe needs to be looked at next.
Okay, I like that.
I see horses that, lose in 11th and then lose 2 points and then get 4th place and get like 12 points or something ridiculous. And I'm saying all of this as someone who knows absolutely nothing about what goes into the coding and how they do that.
Sure.
But I think aside from that, the age old complaint of like the class system needs to be fixed. I think we all need to get over it, that it is what it is. As long as your horse can work with it, then that's what it is. Be strategic with it, be disciplined, and make the most out of it. And the last thing that we didn't talk about, because this was announced, I think last week, I'm very happy that they pushed the coin, that it is no longer even in the roadmap from what I've heard.
I am too. I think it's just there's no right answer to it at this point.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough time in, crypto, obviously, and also a lot of global economics and whatever, but I just don't think it's the best time to announce or release that coin. And I think a lot of people are happy, and it was one of the reasons I originally joined Zed, was that I didn't have to worry about another coin. It was just Ethereum. That's it.
Right. Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Whether that conversation starts back up again or if it stays just completely off the radar.
Yeah, definitely.
Big shout out to Farhat OG, one of my very first viewers ever.
Nice.
So thank you for popping in, brother. About a year ago now. About a year ago, I think. And so yeah, I'm glad they pushed out the token. I agree. Class is the next big thing that needs to be addressed. It's very important.
Yeah.
And then you can get more people racing, and then once it becomes viable, then I think you start looking to scale more. Hopefully.
Yep.
Doing well. What's up, Joe? Joe, we're just heading up. All right. Well, good luck to your 76ers tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I just saw that the number 3 pick came in, and it was Keegan Murray. They announced, or they had a stat that they just showed that was he improved his scoring from the season prior by, I think it was like 16.2 points on average, which is
no
insane.
Way.
And in my head, I was like,
how do you do that?
I was like, how do you do that? Like, I'm gonna go after we're done here. I'm gonna go look at his like minutes, because that's insane. And then they followed that stat up with, I think it said it was the largest point, the largest increase in average points by a player in 25 years.
That's wild.
Yeah, gonna have to go check that out.
Yeah. Who picked him up? Was it the Rockets then?
The Kings.
Oh, the Kings did.
Kings.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's that'll be fun to watch. You got time? We had one quick question from chat.
Sure.
said, does that not affect you because you sold? I feel they need to reward Genesis horses somehow. How
I
do you think they
assume,
do that?
I assume that's at me.
Yeah,
Um,
I have not sold any horses recently.
yeah. First of all, Joe, what's up? Hello. Thanks for stopping by. um, I didn't sell everything. I kept, I think, 11 horses. I just cut down from like 15 or 16, and I sold my best racer because it was worth the most. I kept plenty of solid racers who have, very high win and show and place in their distance preference. And I also kept my Genesis racer. I did sell an unraced, unbred Genesis, again, because it was worth a decent amount of Ethereum, and I didn't want to, in my thought process, risk it not being worth that again at some point. Um, and also, an unraised, unbred Genesis has a very, very clear floor. It has an extremely
Sure.
concrete worth, and it is quite literally worth the lowest that is listed.
Yeah.
So, um, it does affect me. And I still don't know about Genesis owners being rewarded. That is a fair point, about the coin. Um, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think everybody hopes that when the coin comes out that will be a benefit, but I think maybe it'll be larger than that. There will be like a wallet history snapshot. It'll be how long you've been around, all sorts of stuff. I'm not really sure.
So Chianti kind of spun. Veggie Dave says horse market is nuts.
Yeah.
Low Budge says just bought my first Jenny about 3 minutes ago, and Chianti
Nice.
says likely about the token as token discussion rewarding Genesis horses with tokens was discussed openly.
Yeah.
Back to the question of what's the answer for Genesis horses that aren't racers.
Yeah.
And many of them also aren't breeders. And right now, that's the big benefit to Genesis is
Right.
unlimited breeding. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess what is the phrase you have in there is rewarding Genesis horses with tokens was discussed openly. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, since I got started over a year ago, everybody was like, Genesis horses will always have the worth. And like, look at Dan Shan's Twitter. He'll tweet about it a million times a day until his
Right.
his fingertips are bleeding. Like, what is happening with all these useless Genesis horses out there? And like, unfortunately, people are just holding. I mean, we've seen the Genesis floor swept so many times when there's thoughts of that happening, and I don't know if they're worthless because they are Genesis, and like it would be absolutely insane if another 3 years went by and Genesis horses had no extra utility or reward system. But I don't know. It's a good question that I don't know if I have an answer for. Is like, what's the answer for Genesis horses that aren't racers? I don't know. If it's not the coin, what else is it? It's a good point.
Yeah, and I don't want to necessarily. I feel like if you do put a ton of coins to Genesis holders,
Yeah.
it then becomes just a coin dump. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big fear of why they didn't do it. So I don't love
Right.
that angle. It's the forever breeding is only going to go so far. Because
As,
at the end of the day, people would take more of a sure thing that's not a Genesis than all right. I'll hit a Genesis for the sake of hitting Genesis.
yeah.
Um,
Especially after the update, because we now know if it's a bad breeder, it's most likely going to continue to be a bad breeder.
right. Yeah. Alex says they had a point when lotto breeding was the thing. Now they have nothing, and so we can't do. In my opinion, you can't do token. You can't do like you can't necessarily change the breeding. You can't change the performance. I think they're kind of stuck right now.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
I,
they're more.
I don't have an answer to that.
I know I usually will try and spew something, but I don't have an answer. I don't know. The catalyst is gone.
Yeah.
Joe, that's dead. Um, I wish, yeah, I guess they can't bring back like the lotto breeding just for Genesis, because that would mess a lot of stuff up. But
Do you give like a further you can't give a further breeding discount. That doesn't make sense. Like
maybe
I
sort of reward system for holding. But even, even the thought of the coin, even back to the coin, even the thought of a snapshot of someone who's held a Genesis for a long amount of time getting more coin, I don't even think that works.
yeah,
A month ago, I've had this Racer Genesis for, I don't know, like multiple months, for a
yeah.
long time. And I had that unraced, for even longer. And I had other gens before that. A month ago, I made a new wallet and I moved all of my horses into that for security reasons. So, am I starting from scratch all of a sudden? Or is that old wallet that once held a Genesis and multiple Genesis going to get rewarded in some way? They can't do it by that. It has to be a snapshot of a current holder. I don't know. That's weird.
Could a Genesis get a fraction of all race entry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like some sort of reward system, or like the longer you hold it, maybe an ETH balance
Yeah.
generates, and you can withdraw it every 2 weeks or something, and it's like a very low fraction, 0.000 something every day.
Sure. Yeah, that's a very tough, pun intended, $1,000,000 question.
Yeah, because also
Um,
you can't do breeding tokens because people will revolt, especially if it's specific to breeding
right.
your Genesis.
And yeah, because if it's shit, you're not going to get anything out of it, and
I
you
don't,
already have unlimited.
yeah,
So like, it's going to save you very little ETH, which you probably wouldn't have used or spent anyway. So
right.
like, it's kind of a wash.
And if it's open breeding token, then you're going to have people buying up the absolute trash floor Genesis just to have that token to breed another horse in their stable.
So what about this idea? Throwing a curveball here. What if they created race limits based on breed type?
Race limits based.
And then your horse was like forced to retire off of that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Actually, I talked about that a while ago. I still think that needs to be a thing, and I think that breeding needs to be changed. Like pacers, don't let them breed, or let them breed like twice ever. Like
Yeah.
that's I'm selflessly and shamelessly, those are my opinions. Like I don't think those pacers should be able to breed X amount. I do think they should have some sort of breeding cap instead of like, well, I guess breeding decay is sort of that, but not really. um but
Yeah,
how would that go into the Genesis rewards?
and so yeah, I mean it would be like he said, just like the horse that started it, but at the same time, if you have I guess that would kind of work because like if you had a shit breeder, but then you somehow like that the lineage got like cut over so far away from that
Yeah,
that like a grand baby horse ended up being okay.
sure.
There could be something there.
Yeah, and I also, kind of going to that, what Chianti just said is a lifetime percentage of all winnings in lineage going back to the Genesis horse. That's absolutely insane, but I
Yeah.
love it. That would be crazy. Or even like, some cumulative reward system for holding, and maybe if you race the Genesis or you breed the Genesis, that reward increases, and maybe that reward goes towards, like, maybe it is an ETH amount, but maybe you can't ever withdraw it from the game. Maybe it has to be spent on breeding or on entering paid races.
I'm a big fan of this. I think this is a
Yeah.
great solution. Just
Call
grab
it
some
Zed.
spaghetti and throw it against the wall.
Yeah, that usually works.
Yeah, I mean that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Something's got to happen.
Yeah.
Time will tell. All right. Well, I'm good to wrap things up. The draft looks like it's progressing along nicely.
Yeah.
Good luck to your 76ers tonight. Any closing remarks before we head out?
Not really. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you know, if anybody needs help looking at horses or anything, hit me up. I'm always around to help or give a second opinion. That's about it. I don't really have any big projects or anything going on. Just hanging out.
I like it. I like it. Well, you're welcome back here anytime. I'm going to throw
Thank
your Twitter in chat. Go ahead, give Prospect a follow if you aren't already. He does awesome graphic design work. Pretty smart when it comes to buying horses. I think he got a pretty decent deal here. And always thank you again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, go 76ers.
Yes.